It's one of the most famous feathered animals in the Bible, which is mentioned in the story of Noah's Ark, and one that's even been depicted by Picasso himself. But what did the winged creature from that biblical story look like? We start off with the story of the Great Flood, where this bird makes its most well-known appearance. And while the dove famously appears in this story, it's a different bird that Noah first sends out, the raven, to find out if the flood was ending. But that mission fails.
Noah sent out a dove instead, but the dove couldn't find any dry land. So the dove came back to him, and the Bible says that Noah waited 7 days, sends it out again. This time, the dove comes back with an olive branch, which became the famous symbolic idea of a dove carrying an olive branch. So Noah realized that life was regenerating after the flood. Waits another 7 days, sends out the dove again, and this time the dove doesn't come back at all. So Noah knew it was time for everyone to leave the ark.
The bird also appears in the New Testament during the baptism of Jesus in the Jordan River. And Jesus, when he was baptized, went up straightway out of the water. And lo, the heavens were opened unto him. And he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and lighting upon him. But what was the bird that Noah sent out? In this region, both rock pigeons and turtle doves were the main species. Biblical Hebrew uses two words to describe the species: tor, which means dove or turtle dove, and yonah, which is translated as pigeon, but also means dove. In the passage from the story of Noah's Ark, Yonah is written, so the dove could be either of the species. But the rock pigeon has been domesticated for thousands of years, with one of the purposes to reliably bring messages to its home roost from any distance or direction.
All pigeons worldwide are descended from the rock doves in this area. Just they developed also the name pigeon, and although doves, the original rock doves, which you can still see in the wild and the En-Gedi region, areas like that, they have the same coloration as pigeons, but the domesticated varieties were often developed to be white. And I think because white is the symbol of purity, so we then gain the idea that the dove mentioned in the Bible is a white dove, even though the dove mentioned in the Bible would presumably have been the color of the wild rock doves, which look essentially identical to city pigeons.
The dove is a bird that has come to symbolize reliability.
The doves were really the only birds that were domesticated, and they were, apart from being, beautiful birds, they were thought of as being, they were friendly, they were loyal.
One of the places we visited to learn more about these birds was Ori Rosner's pigeon coop, where he takes care of racing pigeons. In fact, it's here where he owns over 100 of them. The feathered animals aren't only famous from the story of Noah's Ark, but have a rich history. And these birds boast a variety of skills.
The pigeon is a very strong animal. It is very healthy. It is very light. It can fly very fast. It can fly more than 140 or 150 kilometers per hour. Until the 1960s, even here in Israel, they used pigeons in the intelligence forces in order to bring messages. They used pigeons in the Independence War in 1948. They didn't have cell phones or any other advanced technology back then. It was mainly used for military services.
The birds have also had a major use in militaries outside of Israel, including over a century ago, and also staying in service in modern times as well.
It came to a peak during World War II. They used pigeons in England, France, the US, and even the Germans used eagles to kill the pigeons on their way. In some cases, pigeons saved entire brigades with their messages. And even today, we can see usage of pigeons in several armies for several different purposes.
And sometimes romance is the reason for their return.
One thing we do know is that pigeons always want to come back home. Sometimes we put the pigeons with its partner together and we bring the couple to the race. So the pigeon knows its partner is waiting for it and it really wants to return. They have permanent couples, and usually they don't switch couples, unless you will make them do it. but we can find the same things we find in human relations. We can see gay couples, lesbian couples. We can see couples who argue with each other, or the male is going with another pigeon. It's not two lovebirds. This term is misleading.
But while we know what can cause these birds to come back, what exactly enables them to do that? This unique ability during their feathered flights is all thanks to a fascinating skill called homing, which is the ability to navigate towards an original location even through areas that are unfamiliar. It's a skill that Dr. Or Spiegel, a faculty member at the School of Zoology at Tel Aviv University, is familiar with.
But how do they sense the magnetic field? We are unsure what is the actual organ that they use. And a new hypothesis raised, not by me, but by other colleagues, is actually that they communicate with their microbiome, and specifically with bacteria that have magnetic sensing ability. So this is still something we know they do, but we don't fully know how.
A bird that's helped people through delivering messages. But a flight still ahead with more answers yet to be delivered over the unique navigation capabilities of these animals.